Gruesome discovery rocks a small Idaho town, and now on the 25th anniversary of the crime, the unsolved death of a newborn baby still haunts investigators.
So tonight, they're reliving what the investigation was like. On your side's Chris Oswald and photojournalist Doug Locksmith traveled to Rupert to get some intimate details.
A brisk fall day in a small eastern Idaho town quickly becomes anything but normal. A charred body found 25 years ago would rattle the town of Rupert. It was 9 p.m. on November 17th, 1989.
We got a call that there's looked like a baby infant found in a dryer drum, and it had been burned. And we went out and found the site, processed the scene, and collected the evidence.
Evidence was slim. Investigators would eventually determine the baby was no older than 4 weeks old. Randy White was one of the lead investigators who handled the case.
The baby had been burned, so the remains had been burned, and so it was, not all there.
Foul play was suspected, but investigators would soon be looking into other possible reasons.
The baby had a couple different autopsies were done, and they determined that the cause of death was pneumonia.
The autopsies weren't enough to stop the rumors. Many in the town of 5,500 began to wonder if the child, now known as Baby X, was a victim of satanic ritual abuse.
We had some leads that thought along those lines. I served several search warrants up in Butte County area. We went into a cave and did some investigation in there, and we never could find anything that tied it directly back to this Baby X.
Investigators don't believe that this case has any connection to satanic ritual abuse, but many people did. In fact, in 1991, hundreds packed this park in the center of town to share their stories of self-described abuse. With the possibility of ritual abuse now ruled out, White and his colleagues were left with nearly nothing. The body was so badly damaged, forensic evidence was impossible to collect, and no one was coming forward.
At one time we had a theory that it was maybe an immigrant worker family, that the baby had just died of natural causes and they were scared and didn't have the resources to bury the child and were afraid of authorities.
Lead after lead would turn up empty. Investigators were becoming frustrated. As the years would pass, hope of solving this case would dwindle.
I'd like to see it solved. I'd like to be able to change the stone up there to an actual name instead of Baby X and have a resolution, but prospects of that I think are very, very small.
With nothing to go on and law enforcement resources spread thin, the case now sets cold and a number of questions remain unanswered. The only thing identifying the final resting spot of the young child is a marker that reads unknown baby. Investigators spent years trying to determine who the child was. Ultimately, their efforts would prove unsuccessful.
It was tough. We really wanted to find a conclusion, find out who this baby was, and find out what the circumstances were.
The little evidence there is now sits locked away at the Minidoka County Sheriff's Office.
The dryer drum is still in evidence, and the reports from the autopsies that were done and those types of things.
White, who is now retired, knows the possibility of the case being solved is slim, but he isn't giving up hope that someday someone who knows something will come forward.
Somebody out there knows something. So if somebody out there knows something, can bring it to law enforcement, it'd sure be a great thing to have the case solved.
In Rupert with photojournalist Doug Locksmith, Chris Oswald, Idaho on your side.
White also tells us investigators have not had any leads in quite some time. They do look into them as they come in.
And sometimes stories like these will do just that and break some information loose. If anyone knows anything about the case, they are asked to call the Minidoka County Sheriff's Office at the number there on your screen.